Hello and welcome. If you're a landlord in the UK, you'll know the next few years are bringing some absolutely massive shifts in tax. So today, we're going to break it all down with a guide developed by the absolute experts over at Pro Tax Accountant. We're going to focus on everything you need to know to protect your investment as we head into 2026. Right? Let's get into it.
So, let me ask you something straight off the bat. What if I told you that your rental profit could be exactly the same as it was a few years ago, but your tax bill could have shot up, maybe even doubled? It's a tough reality many landlords are already facing, and believe me, the changes coming in 2026 are only going to turn up the heat.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll dive into the new tax reality, which is all about a rule called Section 24. Then, we'll look at a real-world before and after example so you can see the damage for yourself. After that, we'll tackle the next big challenge, making tax digital. And most importantly, we'll talk about how you can plan for 2026 and beyond, and finish up with how to get the right expert help.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of the issue. You see, the single biggest change to landlord tax in recent history is a piece of legislation called Section 24. And this wasn't just some minor adjustment, it's a complete game changer in how landlords are taxed, and it's really the root cause of the financial squeeze so many are feeling right now.
So what on earth is Section 24? Well, in the simplest terms, it's a law that flipped the script on how you claim your mortgage interest. You see, in the old days, you could deduct all of your mortgage interest from your rental income before you worked out your tax. Simple. But now, that's gone. Instead, you get a tax credit, and it's fixed at the basic 20% rate no matter what tax bracket you're actually in. Now, that change from a full deduction to a flat 20% credit, it might sound kind of technical, but the effect is huge. And it leads to the million-dollar question, or maybe the thousand-pound question, what does this actually mean for your wallet? The hit is felt hardest by landlords who are higher or additional rate taxpayers. Let's look at exactly why. Okay, theory is one thing, but seeing the actual numbers, that's where it really hits home. We're going to walk through a proper example now to make this crystal clear. This is where you'll see the real power of Section 24 at work.
Right, have a look at this. Let's imagine a landlord bringing in £18,000 a year in rent. They've got £2,000 in expenses and pay £6,000 in mortgage interest. Now, look at the before column. You deduct your expenses and your mortgage interest, which left a taxable profit of £10,000. For a 40% taxpayer, that's a £4,000 tax bill. Now, look over at the today column. You still deduct your £2,000 in expenses, but here's the kicker. That £6,000 mortgage interest is no longer taken off. This artificially bumps up your taxable profit to £16,000. So the 40% tax on that is £6,400. You then get your 20% credit on the mortgage interest, that's £1,200 back, leaving a final tax bill of £5,200. So what's the bottom line? It's an extra £1,200 in tax every single year. For the same property, the same rent, the same costs. Your actual cash profit hasn't changed one bit, but your tax bill has jumped by a massive 30%. That right there is the problem with Section 24 in a nutshell. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. Because your taxable income now looks so much higher on paper, it can literally push you over the threshold into a higher tax band. All of a sudden, you're not just paying more tax on your rent, you could end up paying a higher rate of tax on all your other income too. It's a real double whammy. But wait, there's more. That's not all. Here's where most people go wrong. The pressure doesn't stop with Section 24. Starting in April 2026, another huge change is coming, and this one changes how you report everything to HMRC. It's called Making Tax Digital.
Making Tax Digital, or MTD, is pretty much what it says on the tin. It's the government's plan to drag tax reporting kicking and screaming into the 21st century. So you know the days of chucking a load of receipts in a shoebox for your accountant once a year? Yeah, they are officially over. And for landlords, this new world kicks off in April 2026.
Now it's being rolled out in stages. So from April 2026, it's compulsory for any landlord with a gross rental income over £50,000. Then, a year later, in April 2027, that threshold drops down to £30,000. The plan is to keep lowering it. The direction is clear. Sooner or later, this is going to apply to almost everyone. So what do you actually have to do for MTD? Well, it boils down to three key things. First, all your records must be digital, using software that's compatible with MTD. Second, you have to send summary updates to HMRC every single quarter. That's 4 times a year. And third, at the end of it all, you still have to submit a final declaration. So your one annual tax deadline has just turned into 5.
And here is a massive pro tip that catches so many landlords out.
That £50,000 threshold for 2026, it's based on your gross rental income, not your profit. So let's say your properties bring in £60,000 in rent, but your costs are £55,000, leaving you with just £5,000 profit. It doesn't matter. You are still legally required to join MTD from April 2026. It's such an important detail to remember.
Phew. Okay, so we've got a higher tax bill from Section 24 and a ton more admin from MTD. It all sounds a bit grim, I know, but this is where we pivot to the solution. Stay with me. The next point might surprise you, because there are even more changes on the way. You are not going to believe this, but they're not done yet. Just look at this table. From April 2027, they are bringing in completely separate, higher tax rates just for property income. The basic rate will jump from 20 to 22%, higher goes to 42%, and the additional rate goes up to 47%. It's another direct squeeze on your profits.
And here are two more little details for 2027 you absolutely need to know. First, remember that tax credit we talked about? From 2027, it's going to be calculated at the new 22% basic rate. It's a small change, but it's another increase. Second, and this is a big one, is how your personal allowance works. From 2027, you must use it against your other income, like your salary, first. Only what's left over can be used against your rental income. For a lot of people, that means more of their rent will be pushed into higher tax bands.
So, when you add it all up, Section 24 hitting your relief, MTD drowning you in admin, and new tax rates squeezing your profits, it really leads to one big question, doesn't it? Is the era of the casual, armchair landlord who could manage everything on a simple spreadsheet actually over?
Honestly, with all these rules piling up, having proactive, professional tax advice isn't a luxury anymore. It's an absolute must if you want to stay profitable. And that brings us perfectly to our final section, getting that expert help.
Let's be blunt. The world for UK landlords is just more complicated and less forgiving than it has ever been. Trying to navigate Section 24, get compliant with MTD, and plan for the 2027 tax hikes, it all demands specialist knowledge that most people just don't have.
So the main takeaway here is to act now, before these changes catch you out. You can get way ahead of the curve by talking to the experts. ProTax Accountant can give you a completely tailored review of your portfolio to make sure you're as tax efficient as you can be. You can reach them on WhatsApp or give them a call on 07985689912 or just drop an email to info@protaxaccountant.co.uk. And hey, while you're at it, make sure you subscribe to their YouTube channel for more updates like this one. And just to finish, a quick disclaimer. The information we've shared today is for general guidance only. Tax rules can and do change, so you really shouldn't act on this information without getting proper professional advice that's tailored to your situation from an expert, like the brilliant team at ProTax Accountant. Thank you so much for watching.